Welcome to the Safe Money Retirement Show with certified financial fiduciary Tim Wood.
Let's sit down and make an actual plan, and we have definitely got to factor in that retirement danger zone. I wish to God someone had sat down and done that with my dad. We wish we would have known about these things.
Tim is a retirement and income planning expert, best-selling author, and the founder of SafeMoneyRetirement.com. Tim focuses on wealth management, retirement income, tax and long-term care planning, and so much more.
Today is your opportunity to build the tomorrow you want. You've got an 87% chance of success. Well, son, that's a 13% chance of failure.
And now, the Safe Money Retirement Show with Tim Wood.
Welcome in to this week's edition of the Safe Money Retirement Show. You know him. He's Tim Wood. He's the founder, president, and certified financial fiduciary. He's also the star of the show, and he's my good buddy. Glad to be with him once again here this week. My name's Kevin McAlpin. Hope you're having a fantastic day, and as always, Tim and I are so happy to have you on the show. First things first, we do say hello to the star of the show, Tim Wood. And of course, Tim, it is great to be with you as always, my friend.
Great to be here. Great to be seen. And heard. So, yeah, thanks, Kevin. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's enjoying the summer. And, we're only now about a month and a half from the start of preseason football. I know I've got a problem, but yes, I count the closer to 2 months, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Preseason is almost here. The camps are going to start soon. Seems like a few minutes before we're talking about, hey, it's time to get your RMDs done for the year because we're at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's, but no better, like we always say, there's no better time than today to go ahead and get things taken care of so it's done.
Tim Wood and his team at Safe Money Retirement, they're here to help. If you'd like to learn more, you want to get on his calendar, quickest and easiest way to do so is by visiting SafeMoneyRetirement.com. Again, it's SafeMoneyRetirement.com. And Tim, for those folks who follow the show, they're here with us every single week. Today, we continue the conversation you had with Tracy Kendall Wilson. She's the Regional Director of Alzheimer's Tennessee. Give folks a quick little preview what they can expect from today's conversation.
Yeah, we've been doing this for the last few weeks, and this week, I believe, is going to be our last week with this. It was a fantastic interview. She is an awesome person. If anyone has any questions and they would like to reach out to her personally, she would be happy to help you with your situation. You can get the full interview by just going to our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and search at Safe Money Retirement to find our page. But this is the last section of our interview with Tracy Kendall Wilson. Let's go ahead and roll it. Is there anything as far as research going on into dementia, Alzheimer's, that you know of being in this quote unquote industry that gives you hope? What do you think the outlook is 10, 20, 30 years? Let's kind of transition and talk about that. What people can do, what the outlook is, what the new treatments are, just that kind of stuff.
So when I started doing this work 27 years ago, there was a deadline. And believe it or not, you think everything is so far away. And then as time goes on so quickly, it's like, wow, we're here. It was 2025. In 1998, we were given the year 2025 that if there wasn't a cure or there wasn't a way to significantly slow down the disease or modify it in some way, that it would bankrupt the federal system of Medicaid, Medicare, those types of things. So we're in 26. We're a year beyond that. And what I will say is in 2024, we had the first disease-modifying agent. So there was the terminology, which was incorrect prior, but people used it nonetheless, that we had the cholinesterase inhibitors, the donepezil, and the others that would slow the disease progression. It never did that. It sort of masks symptoms of the disease and in best case scenario, helped the person function better for a longer period of time because it protected the acetylcholine. And then in 2005, we had the glutamate uptake receptor helper. And so that sort of helped things like communication, personality, those types of things in the best case scenario. But in 24, we had the first medication that actually decreases some of the plaque and then halts the buildup or at least slows the buildup. And that had never happened before. So we had an advancement. The downside is it is appropriate for a very small group of people that are sort of caught very early on. have no significant risk of brain bleeds, those types of things. And as time goes on, we see more of those agents that are a little more widely available to people without as much of a risk. So that's what we see. We also see, based upon a lot of research, that it may be more like a HIV form of treatment. So there's not one medication, there's a cocktail of medications, and then lifestyle factors that would play into the lowest possible risk of developing dementia as possible.
So the hope is basically to make it chronic, something like HIV now, that if you take this certain cocktail, you got to take this pill then, this pill then, this pill, and you do that you should be okay, and you can something that you can live with. That's the hope.
Right. And did you think when was that? Late 80s, very early 90s, when HIV was a death sentence?
It was.
And now, Magic Johnson, which of course, his financial resources back then probably played into that a little bit. But you also look at Michael Fox living with Parkinson's disease for the number of times. So I think as more people are affected, I know that the federal government is pushing toward the cure, or at least an extreme treatment option, because what they also have discovered is the largest age of onset, which is 85 and older. If you could push the disease out for additional 10 years, the majority of people would succumb to something else versus a cognitive issue.
All right. Well, what I would kind of like to do is just give you, on the end of every one of my shows, I do what's called the last word and just kind of recap. So I kind of want to just give you the last word in this. A couple other statistics I want to throw out before I do that. Alzheimer's is the 6th leading cause of death in the United States, and 1/2 of seniors die with either Alzheimer or some other form of dementia. So this is obviously something that everyone needs to pay attention to, be prepared for. So what would you say as we wrap this up today? What would you say is the last word for someone that's listening and may be scared, may be concerned for their spouse, their mom, their dad, themselves? What would you say is the last word for someone that's been doing this for 27 years and is an expert in this field? How would you want to wrap this up for them as they're listening?
I would say that no matter where the listener is from, the direction, the emotion, the feelings behind something may be happening to me or happening to my family member or happening to a friend is universal. So it doesn't matter, we're in Tennessee and cover Tennessee and Southwest Virginia. Reach out to us by email, by website, by telephone, by text message, carrier pigeon, you name it. Begin the conversation of this is happening and what do you think? What can I do? So reach out to someone. We don't have to be in the same state or the same country for that matter. If you've got Google Translate, we're good. But reach out to someone and begin the conversation. And that can look any way a person would like it to look. We're not overpowering. We don't force. We just want to help where we can.
And that website is alztennessee.org, alztennessee.org. Do you want to throw out the phone number as well if anyone wants to just call?
Yes, we'll do call and text. So we'll give our mobile number. It's 423-330-4532.
Awesome. Tracy, thank you so much for being here. I think this was so valuable, and I think people are going to get so much from it. Get the help that you need now. It's out there. Go to alztennessee.org. Go to your local societies or chapters or organizations or whatever and get the help that you need and get it now. Thank you for being with us. Take care.
Well, Tim, a great conversation with Tracy Kendall Wilson. And for our loyal listeners who may have missed it just a couple of weeks ago, get used to some more of these interviews because you've got a lot of great stuff in the pipeline for our listeners. Some conversations, some folks they may not even be aware of. But boy, there are so many things to think about. And I think when you hear that interview with Tracy, it's a real eye-opener for a lot of our listeners, I'm sure.
You're not going to just hear Kevin and I run our yaps all the time. You're going to hear some really expert advice from people in specific areas that are talking about things that you need to know in retirement. So there's a lot of that coming. Just stay tuned.
Yeah, set a reminder. Join us week in and week out here on the Safe Money Retirement Show. And folks, if you'd like to learn more, 800-913-SAFE. That's 800-913-7233. Or online, you can always reach Tim and his team at safemoneyretirement.com. That's safemoneyretirement.com. And Tim, I know we've been having a lot of fun with our listener-submitted questions of the week. If you would like to get involved in the show, the email address to reach Tim and possibly hear your question answered right here on the show is info@safemoneyretirement.com. Again, info@safemoneyretirement.com. And Tim, this week, we heard from a listener who was talking about scams and how it seems like there's more and more. They're on the rise. You see them on Facebook, YouTube. Everything looks like the next greatest thing that pops across our timelines. But Tim, we see so many folks that are scammed. They're ripped off. They don't realize it until it's too late. So how can we avoid falling victim and finding ourselves in a similar predicament when all's said and done?
There are a lot of scams out there. Many of y'all that have been listening for a long time know that, I go to a lot of the Ed Slot Master Elite Advisor Group meetings. They talk about all kinds of stuff. But the last one that I was at, he spent at least 15 minutes, if not 30 minutes, going into this whole thing on all these different scams that are out there right now. Just crazy stuff. There's one, and I don't know why, I still haven't figured out why they call it this, pig butchering. That someone actually pretends, like, for example, if you were an older man, Kevin, someone could pretend to be a younger woman and woo you and, and they're so good at it. Hey, I need this money. I need you to send me this money, but then I'm going to come and we're going to be together and blah, blah, blah. And the people are sending money, but of course, nothing ever materializes from it. He went over a whole bunch of those things. How can you keep from that? Two things I would say. Number one, you absolutely need a durable power of attorney in place, because if you ever get to a point where you cannot make judgment calls for yourself, can't reason for yourself, if something medically happens, if you can't take care of something on your own, you need to have someone you can count on that can. And if they don't have that durable power of attorney for them, it might be challenging to get them to be able to help. Number two, you need a certified financial fiduciary that can look over what you're doing. And if you see that latest thing on the internet that looks like it's the next greatest thing, oh my gosh, I need to invest in this because it's 3 cents now and it's going to be $3,000 a share in a week. Well, first of all, I'm going to say, really? Come on. Let's get real. We didn't just fall off the turnip truck yesterday. Let's get real. So that would be the biggest thing I would say, to make sure you need to have someone that, once again, if your mental faculties aren't 100% there, that can cover for you through a durable power of attorney. And you need to have a certified financial fiduciary on your team so you can ask those questions. If something ever really, really seems to, get stuck in your craw and you really want to do it, okay, that's fine. Get with someone and say, hey, I saw this, and do you think this is really a good thing? And do I have the money to do it? And should I do it? And whatever. You need a professional. You need an expert on your team before you just jump into some of these things.
And if you would like to learn more, you're trying to steer clear of being the next scam victim, or maybe you feel like you've heard something that's too good to be true and you'd like to bounce it off him, it all starts with one phone call to Tim and his team at Safe Money Retirement. 800-913-SAFE. That's 800-913-7233. Online at safemoneyretirement.com. That's safemoneyretirement.com. All right, when we return, we used to look at a 6-figure salary like you've made it. But has that benchmark changed over the years? We'll get to that. Plus, we'll continue the conversation about dementia. Bruce Willis going through it here with his family. We'll get to that and more as we continue with this week's edition of the Safe Money Retirement Show with Tim Wood right after this.
Hi, it's Glenn Beck. You've heard me talk about Tim Wood, certified financial fiduciary and owner of Safe Money Retirement, for a while now. But what I haven't told you is that he's also a retirement income certified professional. Now, why should you care? Well, maybe you have pre-tax and after-tax retirement accounts, and you need to know how that's going to work. Or maybe you still don't have enough guaranteed lifetime income to cover your monthly bills. Or maybe your entire savings is still exposed to risk. Listen, I met Tim personally, and I can tell you that his team can help you. I want you to write this down, safemoneyretirement.com/Beck. Or call 800-913-SAFE to schedule a no-obligation, free 15-minute discovery call with Tim. You know I don't trust just anyone. So do your own homework on Tim Wood at safemoneyretirement.com/Beck and request a copy of his best-selling book. 800-913-SAFE. safemoneyretirement.com/Beck. Get started today.
It is the Safe Money Retirement Show, and we are certainly glad to have you with us. Alongside Tim Wood, the founder, president, and certified financial fiduciary with Safe Money Retirement. My name's Kevin McAlpin. Tim and I are so glad to have you with us each and every week on the show, and we thank you so much for carving out just a small part of your day to join us as we talk all things retirement. So, Tim, I think back to, maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, you used to hear of someone who's making six figures and it really felt like they've made it, right? But it seems like that benchmark's starting to feel a little outdated, like some of the other things we've talked about on this show that might not have as much relevance in 2026. I saw a new report by Moneylion, and it found that in the 12 high-cost states, including California, New Jersey, and Massachusetts, $100,000 a year of income is now considered, believe it or not, lower middle class, not upper middle class. So you can blame, of course, the rising cost of living and, of course, inflation as well. So, Tim, if $100,000 a year doesn't go as far as it did during our working years, imagine what that means for us once the paycheck stops. So let's talk about some of the big mistakes people make when they underestimate how much income they're really going to need once they get into retirement.
Yeah, this is a major issue that I wind up dealing with people all the time. One of the things is people just assume, and we all know what assuming does.
Oh, yeah.
They assume their expenses will drop significantly in retirement. And let me tell you, that's just not the case for most. Actually, I've got a lot of clients that their expenses actually go up in retirement. Mm-hmm. One of the people I work with, his name's Tom Hegna. I've got some of his books I send out, and I've got some of his webinar material I do on webinars. He talks about the go-go years, the slow-go years, and the no-go years. And what does that mean? Well, when you first retire, you're in the go-go years. You're going to spend more than you at least as much, if not more than you did when you were working. Now, when you get into those middle years, the slow-go years, which that's where you could go out, but you'd rather just stay home, yeah, your expenses may go down some. And then once you get to the no-go years, you're probably back up there because now you've got more medical expenses or long-term care or whatever. So making sure that you're prepared and not counting on your expenses to drop significantly, because I very rarely see that happen. And actually, when I'm doing a plan for someone, we go ahead and plan for their expenses to stay right where they were before retirement, through retirement, and then actually including inflation. So that's one of the things. Also using outdated income rule of thumbs. Some assume 70 or 80% of their pre-retirement income will be enough. Again, goes along with what I was just saying. If your expenses aren't really going down, and again, I've got clients over and over that are wanting more income in retirement than they had when they were working. And based on how we set things up, people, that's possible. Mm-hmm. How great of a feeling would that be to leave a meeting with me and me be able to say, congratulations, Kevin, I can now let you retire at the end of this year, and you're going to make more than you've made throughout your working life. How would that feel?
That'd feel pretty good.
Yeah. And I get to have that conversation with people as long as we're setting things up properly and we're doing it early enough. Also, underestimating some of the big costs. There's going to be some big costs that come up in retirement. Healthcare is always a wild card. We don't know what's going to happen there. But making sure that you're prepared for whatever might happen, including long-term care and then home repairs, helping family. There's a bunch of things that can eat into your income. You need to make sure you got a plan. You also need to make sure in retirement that you've got that emergency stash of money. We're not going to put everything into one of the type of plans I do. I have clients all the time that come to me and they're like, here's everything. No, I'm not taking everything. I don't want everything. Right. Because you still need to have a pot of money yourself because something's going to happen. You're going to need a roof. You're going to need a transmission. Your kid is 35 but just lost their job and now they can't pay their bills and you need to send them $2,000 a month for a few months till they're back on their feet. Stuff's going to happen. It's part of life. You need to make sure you've got that money there to be able to help them. And then the last thing I would say is a lot of people don't plan long term. I hear this all the time. Someone that retires at 65 and they're like, oh, well, if I plan for the next 20 years and I can make it 20 years to 85, I'm fine. Well, that sounds fine at 65. But guess what? When you get to 84 and you've only got 1 year left in your plan, how do you think that's going to sound?
I don't think I'm sleeping well that night.
No, and that happens. And and think about it, especially with all the healthcare advancements, we're getting more and more people that are living into the triple digits.
Yeah.
I mean, that's becoming more and more common. So you need to have a long-term view of retirement, and you need to have it through the lens that you and I are always talking about, guarantees. Guaranteed income, not if-come. Not, oh my gosh, I hope I don't withdraw too much. And oh my gosh, I hope the market continues to do well and doesn't crash. And okay, even if it does crash now, it'll come back. But then what happens if you're 84 and you're relying on the market and it crashes when you're 84? What's your timeline? Do you have time for it to come back? You don't. So having a real plan and making sure that you're planning for the long term is super important.
Well, if you're tuned in today, you're approaching retirement and you're looking to avoid some of those costly mistakes that could have long-lasting impacts in your financial future, or maybe you're just unsure how to estimate those expenses and how they can change as you go throughout retirement. Tim Wood and his team at Safe Money Retirement, they're standing by to take your calls. They're here to help. And if you'd like to start that conversation today, 800-913-SAFE. That's 800-913-7233, or online anytime. It's safemoneyretirement.com. And don't forget, folks, our first 5 callers from today's show, you're not only going to get a chance to start that conversation with Tim and start putting pen to paper for your retirement, he's also throwing in that complimentary copy of his book. It's called Safe Money Retirement, Your Game Plan for Success. Again, that website one more time, folks, safemoneyretirement.com. So, Tim, I kind of come full circle on this week's show. I know we started things out with the great conversation you had with Tracy Kendall Wilson, director of Alzheimer's Tennessee. And obviously, a lot of our listeners probably have heard the story about Bruce Willis, diagnosed with dementia about 3 years ago. And his wife, Emma, has been caring for him. But recently, the family came to her and expressed some concerns about her well-being, saying it's really just becoming too much for her to care for Bruce. So he's now staying at a memory care facility, and she's receiving some criticism for this, believe it or not. Some folks look at the cost of long-term care and say there's no way they'll be able to afford it, but putting that on your family also has a high cost. So what are your thoughts? And more importantly, how can you help?
Yeah, I've got some real big thoughts on this because my family just went through this.
Yeah.
So I know very well exactly what Emma is going through and has been going through. Bruce was actually diagnosed with something called frontotemporal dementia. It's called FTD. That's the actual kind he's got. And unlike Alzheimer's itself, FTD is actually the most common form of dementia for individuals under the age of 65. So it's something that, someone may want to actually look into. I would say when she first became caregiver to her husband, she didn't know that she was allowed to ask for help. Because neither did my mom. And my mom thought, well, we've been together, since Noah came over on the ark, and all that stuff. They've been together forever.
Yeah.
I should take care of him. It's almost impossible. I mean, it's a 24/7 job. Y'all heard the conversation with Tracy that we've had the last 4 weeks. In that conversation, she talks about how hard it is for people to turn over some of these jobs to the caregivers. Even for me right now, if I needed help with something, I am not a person to ask for help. I don't know about you, Kevin, but it's hard for me to ask for help. So I get it. I really do. And the fact that it came with shame and guilt and from all this all the garbage that's I'm going to say social media. It didn't all come from social media, but probably a majority of it, right? That she isn't doing her job as his wife or whatever. That's a load. That's a pile. No, I'm sorry. No. Yes, it's for better or for worse. And getting someone in that's got the training. Listen, how could my mom have training in someone to take care of someone with dementia? She never had that training.
Right.
She was just his wife. Her training was in a law office. And then she worked in a school system in the office. So that was her training. How does that prepare her for dementia? It doesn't.
Right.
And I'm probably so passionate about it again because I've been through it, and I know. I mean, people need help, and she absolutely needs help and needs to know that there is help and that she can use it. And on the criticism for moving her into a facility, those people in that facility are trained. Mm-hmm. That facility, he can wander around. If he wants to wander around all night, he can, because he can't get out. The doors are locked. That's the way the facility is created. That's how memory care facilities are. And the people that are in there are trained. This is exactly where he needs to be. He's in the right place. So again, they don't know what they're talking about. They're talking just like everybody else on social media. Everybody's got an opinion. You need to listen to the experts. And the experts say when you get to a point, there's a point where someone with dementia or Alzheimer's is going to need to be in memory care because that's where the professionals are. Or you need to have someone in the home 24/7. And also, then you've also got to think about the well-being for the other spouse. You know, for my mom, for Emma, that's Bruce's wife. She's got to have a life too. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's part of this. Yes, he's important, 100%, and we need to do what's best for him. But we need to do what's best for Emma too. So it's a two-way street, and yeah, I'm very passionate about it because I've lived through it with myself and my wife's mom. A lot of this is just totally unfair and totally uncalled for, and I mean, it just should be shut down.
Mm-hmm. Here's the reality, folks. If you're tuning in today, nearly 70% of folks over the age of 65 are going to need some form of long-term care. Many families completely unprepared. So don't wait till a crisis arises. Call Tim Wood and the team at Safe Money Retirement today. Let him walk you through that process of planning for all the unexpecteds you could encounter in retirement. 800-913-SAFE. That's 800-913-7233 or online at safemoneyretirement.com. That's safemoneyretirement.com. Well, Tim, it's certainly been another enjoyable week with you, my friend. And before we are out of time on this week's show, the floor is once again all yours for the final word.
Thanks, Kevin. Hope everyone enjoyed the show. Hope everyone has a great coming up week here. Just real quick, the last 4 weeks we've been talking about Tracy Kendall Wilson and that interview, and we were just talking about Bruce Willis. Dementia is a huge thing. Alzheimer's is a huge thing. You need to make sure you're prepared. I'm also really excited about some of the other interviews coming up, so everyone stay tuned. I want to just real quick touch again on underestimating your income you're going to need in retirement, because I see this so often. It's a huge thing. We need to make sure that you've got enough guaranteed income, not only just to cover your absolute bare minimums, but to cover what you're wanting to do in retirement. If you want to take those trips, if you want to be a member of the country club, if you want to be able to go spend time with the grandkids or take the grandkids on trips or whatever it is you want to do, you should be able to do that as long as you've got enough saved up. And we can make sure you can do that through guaranteed plans that are going to allow you to have your own safe money retirement.
The preceding information does not represent tax, legal, or investment advice. Obviously, by contacting us now, you are only taking the first step towards protecting your retirement. No information presented today should be acted upon without meeting with a qualified, licensed insurance professional. It is important that you read all insurance contract disclosures carefully before making a purchase decision. Interest and other guarantees in annuity contracts are subject to the claims-paying ability of the insurance carrier that issued the contract. The tax consequences of annuity income should be considered with the help of a licensed tax professional. Rates and returns mentioned on this program may vary based on state availability and are subject to change without notice.